Hello, my friends. Welcome to a video about my weekend, I guess. My weekend away. I wanted to just share some things with you guys. And I guess people that are not from Canada or aren't too familiar with it don't really know much about Niagara-on-the-Lake. And there's a few questions about like where I ate and where I stayed. So if you're like, what's going on, Cindy? Because I've had some posts. I had my 50th birthday on April the 14th, but obviously it was leading up to the Easter weekend. So I didn't do anything with my friends that weekend. So this past weekend of April, I guess like 22nd, I went to Niagara-on-the-Lake with 5 of my best girlfriends. And we had like the most amazing time. We had so much fun. And there's a couple of things I wanted to share with you guys too. I got a new singing bowl. So this is really neat. And I want to share with you and tell you the story of our experience with this bowl and actually what's so different about this singing bowl. So I got it at, so Niagara-on-the-Lake is about, I think it's about 20 kilometers roughly from Niagara Falls. So it's not Niagara Falls. It's not even the same scene. It is totally different. It's, there's a lot of unique artisan shops. It's right in the heart of sort of like a big part of wine country in Ontario, Canada here. And there's a lot of history there too, because it's like along the Niagara with, you know, the War of 1812 and all this stuff and old buildings. And it's really, really great. So that's kind of like what it's all about. It's just a beautiful place. You could, like, you don't even need a car once you get there. You can walk to everything. And it's really a really nice experience. So I got this bowl at a store called Pandea Gallery. And Lisa, who's the owner, she was really, really great. So I highly recommend going in there. Just a beautiful soul herself. So we've got, you can see inside like how beautiful it is. It's so interesting, and it's got all this detail on the outside. Now, what's unique about this bowl is, how does she describe it? It's a multi-metal. So there's multiple metals infused like together to create this bowl. And so there's a few different things I noticed of because of that. Like all the other bowls I have are one type of metal. I really didn't think I'd buy another singing bowl when I was out, because I tried a whole bunch of other ones that were very similar to what I have, but this one intrigued me. And I thought, why is this so different? And she started telling me about it. And what I noticed is you can often hear more than one frequency coming off of this bowl at one time. And I'm guessing it's because there's multiple metals that are in it. The other thing I noticed is when we were kind of exercising the bowl at the shop, I got different friends to hold it and I got it going. And it produced a different frequency pitch depending on who was holding it. And one of the things that we noticed was it produced a very high frequency pitch for the three of my friends were all going through actually, or have been going through something either stressful, very stressful work environment, or going through something like really difficult with a family member that they're caring for, very close with. So it was kind of almost like, you know, when you're really grounded in the earth element, like in the 3D life, and there's heavy things that you're dealing with, it almost felt like it was trying to open up like a higher frequency for them. And then myself and my Pisces friend are always just kind of like, ooh, in that higher frequency all the time. It actually produced a much lower, deeper resonance, almost like, you know, that sound you hear recorded of elephants, that low vibration that can be heard for miles. And that's kind of funny. It's almost like we need to come down and ground a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see what it plays here on the camera for all of you. So sometimes it takes a while to get going and sometimes it's instant. So let's see. It's just a great big handle shoe on it. So let's see what it gets for you guys. See what it starts to produce. Might need to hold it here to get it. What an interesting sound, isn't it? It's a frequency that nothing I have makes, and it just feels almost otherworldly. Yeah, this thing will just go forever. And you notice when I started it, it was that deep frequency, but the more I got it vibrating, it toned itself way up. And I'm guessing it's because there's different metals in here. So when it starts going, the metals that produce that lower frequency are vibrating. And then as you really get it going, the vibration increases almost like it activates the metals within it that produce that higher pitch. It's just, this is a very special bowl. So one of the other things that was really interesting, it's still going, is one of my close friends who was with me, her mom is suffering dementia, and this friend of mine, she's capable of taking on quite a bit and also holding in quite a bit. And I know she has been, because it's been very difficult for her to watch her mom go through this. Her mom isn't in a home or anything yet. They're still managing at home. They've done so many changes to the house. It's just incredible what they're doing to try to keep their mom as safe and as independent as possible. But it is literally like a 24-hour thing. She's always on. She was holding the bowl, and I got it going for her. And again, it went right away to like a high pitch. And she says, oh my God, like something's happening. And I can't remember what she said. She was hearing like a phrase that was just going through her head. And all of a sudden, she became overwhelmed. I could see her eyes like tearing up. And she said, something's happening. I'm feeling really, really uncomfortable. And I kept going, and I talked to her about it. I said, this is reminding me of like almost like a Reiki session. Like it feels like energetically it's pushing an emotion out of you. And she said, I feel it. But obviously she didn't want to break down in the store. So she wanted to stop. I said, yeah. So, but I told her, I said, you should come to my house one night when it's just you and I, and we can do this. And I gave her some advice about maybe going to see a Reiki healer to try to pull out like so much of what she's been holding inside. This bowl is amazing. I have never had a bowl like this. I've never seen a bowl like this. And I've been to a lot of different mystical and spiritual shops. I mean, obviously they're probably out there. So it's my first time encountering a bowl of multiple metals and what it can do. So this was the only one that she had. She's getting another one, I think, towards the end of May, which is kind of interesting too. Like she only had one, and she doesn't have another one like this coming in until the end of May. So that's the bowl. Definitely going to be incorporated into my singing bowl sessions, and that'll just keep going. I don't know if you can still hear it, but it's still going. So I got that at the Pangaea Gallery, and she is at, actually she has a, no, she doesn't have a website, so I don't see it on here, unless it's just assumed. No, it's yeah, it's just her email, pangaeagallery@hotmail.com. So 91 Queen Street, Niagara-on-the-Lake. So there was that. Oh, and then I wanted to give a little shout. None of these are paid promotions. So like, these people didn't pay me. I was just so happy with my experience there. And when that happens, I like to share it with you guys, particularly if you feel like you would go there and and, you know, wanting to know specifically, well, this was a great place. Honestly, they were all great. I just felt like, you know what, I need to take a mortgage out, come to this shop, because every shop was so unique and so interesting. So this little tiny shop I got, it's called Puppy and Dog Fashion Limited. puppyanddogfashion.ca is the website. It's the tiniest of stores. Oh my gosh, it was so tiny. And I got Lily a bright pink raincoat. I wanted to get her a raincoat for a while, but I haven't been able to find any in like the major dog stores around here. Like they've been so limited. I guess because of problems with shipments and stock and whatever, but she had so much, and it was great. Her little kid was in there with her little boy, and he was doing something, and I saw something I thought interesting. Oh, I wanted to pick that up and look at it. He takes it from me. He couldn't have been more than 3. He says, no touch to that. And his mom turned and says, no, you can't talk to people like that. And she said, well, technically it's his, so it's actually not something that's for sale. I say, hey, he's totally in the right. That's his. He made that note. So, but he was cute, and then he was showing me his artwork that he was doing. But so that was really, it was a great store. God, there was so many that I didn't get business cards for as well. Okay, now this one, this was a fascinating store, and what a fascinating man to talk to who owned it. Thomas Chapman is his name, and it's called Upper Canada Native Art. So it's fine collectibles by the people of the land. And so he's at 109 Queen Street, Niagara-on-the-Lake. Yeah, he's got a website, uppercanadaNativeArt.com. There's the card. So he's just got the one shop there. And he worked for the Canadian government for like, I don't know what he said. I could be wrong with some of the numbers and some of the details here, because it just seemed like so much information coming in. I think it was like 25 years. And he was it was solely his responsibility to go, he spent like these 25 years pretty much in like the tundra areas, the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, the Yukon, working with discovering artists of like Canadians' native population and all the artwork that was being produced there, and bringing it all together, and I guess through funding and through government support, creating like viable business opportunities for these people. And I guess on some level, like classifying this artwork and stating like this is certified Canadian native artwork. So that's what he did for 25 years. So the connections that he has are absolutely phenomenal, from literally like the ground roots, and how some of these artists have grown. I was looking in that store, and I kept saying like, don't look at any of this stuff, don't buy anything. I bought too much stuff when I was there already, and this was one of the last stores that we went into. The stuff was just absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I've ever walked into like a gallery where you could literally feel like such a pure sense of the person's soul, and even the land connected to each piece that was produced. It was beautiful. And we're asking, after we talked to him for a while, asking the young lady who was working there with him, and really, because like, how well does this really, like, are there people just in Canada that are buying this? No, we have like people from all over the world. Japan apparently is a big purchaser of this native artwork. And it was such a good feeling, because she was saying like sometimes we'll get a unique new piece that comes in. She said we had one. It was $20,000 for this carving. It was absolutely beautiful. I don't even remember what it was of. She said it was sold in 15 minutes. 15 minutes of the time that it was in the showroom of the store, and it was sold. And it was obvious that there's probably people that are collectors and go there always watching and looking for new pieces, but it was really like such a good story, because, you know, there's often so many stories about, you know, the government conflicting with the Indigenous people in not just Canada, but in a lot of places. So his story was just, it was so positive, because it was obviously government funded, and it was his career to go through and establish, like, if it never happened, these people would not have had this outlet in such remote areas to be recognized, right, for the incredible talent that they have, and to be like properly paid for that. So it was quite an interesting experience walking in there. Like the whole weekend was interesting. So I can give you some of the details of what we did. So from where I am, it's about a 2-hour drive at least to Niagara-on-the-Lake. So if traffic is bad, it could take 3 hours or more. So it's not something that we just go to any weekend. So there was 6 of us, so we decided we would take a limo. We'd get a limo, because do we want to just get jammed into one of our cars and deal with the stress of the traffic? So we did that, and it was, we said that was probably the best decision that we made. One of my friends, her parents as a gift sent just an absolutely wonderful and one of the best bottles of champagne that any of us had had, with all these really beautiful chocolates. So we got, the limo picked us up at 9 o'clock on Friday. By 9:30 we were drinking champagne. So that's when it all started in the limo, and we arrived at so we stayed at the Prince of Wales hotel. Quite a bit of history there. It was just an amazing stay. There was nothing that wasn't perfect about it. You know, I mean, you can stay places, because we left, we checked officially out of our hotel room 11 a.m. on Sunday, but we kept our bags in the lobby, because we had high tea booked at 2 p.m., which is in the same hotel, and the limo wasn't coming till 5 to bring us back home, because we still wanted time to walk around the shops, which we were glad, because Sunday turned out to be the most beautiful day. It was sunny and it was fairly warm. It was just gorgeous. So yeah, so we stayed for quite a few days. And, you know, like, people have off days, you know, even people that are working in hospitality and service. If anybody was having an off day, I'm telling you, you didn't know. These people were just absolutely amazing. I would give full praises to every employee that we ran into down at the spa, in the restaurants. I think his name was Wayne. I think he was our waiter for our dinner, my official birthday dinner on Saturday night. And then I think his name was Bill. He was, I believe, to be like a head manager on some level of the restaurant in the Prince of Wales Hotel, because we had no idea. Like, I guess if we thought about it, it would make sense. There could be a lot of kind of haunted places and ghost stories down there, being like one of the oldest areas in Canada, and that there's been a lot of battles and wars and deaths in that particular spot. So apparently the hotel was haunted by a ghost. And like, we had no idea. We didn't even, to be honest, this wasn't even the first choice that we had for where I was going to go. I started planning this late January, early February, thinking, you know, it's 3 months ahead. I should have a lot of choices. It's incredible how booked up places are. There was one place we wanted to go, was St. Anne's Spa, that some of you familiar with Ontario, was just another beautiful place. I feel like I'm doing like a Tourism Ontario here for anybody. And we couldn't get in there. In February, when I went on to look, like for a weekend with a group of people, there was no availability until October. Oh my God. And then I was looking at some other hotels, and again, I just couldn't get anything. And I was actually, at one point in February, I thought, I don't think this is going to happen. Like, this is not going to happen. And then I got the Prince of Wales Hotel, and it was almost like we were meant to go there. You know how things just, this is closed off to you, that is closed off. And at some point, sometimes we feel like, well, this is not how I wanted it to go. It's not going to be fun. And the universe guides you down this path, and it ends up being like absolutely perfect. There could not have been anything that we would have improved. I mean, nothing out of like a long weekend stay, nothing that we would have improved. So anyways, we went down. Four of us chose out of the 6 of us to have a spa day. And of those four of us, 3 wanted to get a full body massage. I fell asleep on mine. Absolutely wonderful. It was a full body aromatherapy massage for 80 minutes. When the first part, when you're on your stomach and they're doing your back and your legs, and by the time she got to my legs, I think I was asleep. She had to wake me up to turn me over. Even though she was doing like pretty deep tissue massaging. My other 2 girlfriends had another masseur that they were with, and she told them about the ghost, some of the stories. So we kind of got some knowledge from her, but she's just like, I'm really not allowed to talk about this stuff because they're actually fairly protective of this information to the public, because at one point people were specifically trying to book the hotel room where she's often seen, or strange things happen, like chairs move. People have seen images in mirrors, like really kind of whoa stuff. So the management tries to, they don't downplay it. Like they'll tell you the history, they'll tell you actually who it is, but they won't tell you what room. Because they just got to the point where people were booking, they wanted that room, they wanted that room, they wanted that room. So what was interesting was the Saturday morning we were having breakfast in this main restaurant of the hotel. And so all of my friends were together and they were kind of asking me things that, had happened in my life, like just spiritual occurrences and all of that. And then I don't remember, one of them said, like, have you felt anything since we got here? And before they asked that, they actually said, like, do you feel things all the time? Like, does it overwhelm you? And I kind of said, you know what? When I was younger, yes. But now that I'm older, it's almost like just something that you become mildly aware of it, but you just keep moving on. Like you kind of just learn to live more in your 3-dimensional experience, because this is what, I don't want to become overly focused on energetic things or ghostly things that are kind of around you. So I said, actually, like, I had to sit back and think about it. And I thought, okay, yeah, I did, like, here, I would say I felt something, but I said to them, I said, I would describe it as, I feel like a lot of positive energy here. That's the most overwhelming thing that I feel, like the most obvious thing, and it dominates the energy that I feel here. But I would say, like, if I sit and I kind of focus on this background energy, I would identify it as something singular. It almost feels like one person. And where we were sitting in the restaurant, we're near the bar, and there's like a big fireplace, and there's, like, I guess like a lounge area. There's leather chairs and couches. And I looked over there and I said, like, I mean, now that I'm focusing on it, there's like a woman's presence, and I feel like I'm being drawn to that area where the leather club chairs and couches are. I said, yeah, I feel that very strongly, as something traumatic happened. And this is how I described it, and then I'll tell you what the facts actually are. I said, it feels something like, someone waiting at the altar, waiting for, like, it feels like something traumatic happened to a female, like a feminine energy. And it's almost like waiting for your fiance to show up on the wedding day, and then getting the notice that he's not, and he's died on the way. Like, it feels like something that very traumatic emotion was experienced here from a feminine. And that was just sort of like the analogy that I came up with. So anyway, oh, I know what it was. I think it was my Pisces friend. So she was one of the ones that had the massage with the masseur, who had all this information about this ghost in the hotel. I guess because she was telling the masseur about me, and like I had to channel and I read tarot, and I had felt something. When asked, I had identified something. She said, well, there is a woman here. And she gave a few details to her and then my other friend. So, but she wouldn't give out too much. And I guess she said, like, because maybe they're just told they're not supposed to. So she said, when you go to dinner tonight, ask your server. So we asked Wayne, our server, and he said, I mean, I know a bit, but I'll bring someone to the table. And that's when Bill came, the guy who's, I think not only has he worked there for a very long time, but I think he's lived in the Niagara area for quite some time. So if you wanted to ask him any historical information about particular things that happened in terms of battles and when, like when the town was burned down and when it was rebuilt, and so he had all that information. But what was great too is that he also really embraced all of the like ghostly history that goes on there. So he was telling us the story. It was actually a young woman, and wow. So her husband was, so she was married. Her husband was, now this is why I can't recall, because he said, I can't remember. He was an officer, but he said, he doesn't remember, you know, what his rank was, but he was definitely an officer. So he wasn't just like an enlisted man. So he was able to go to the forts and fight, but he would periodically come home. Like obviously he made a much higher wage being an officer. So his wife was at home, and she lived in the house at the time, the original structure, which, now this is where it got really interesting. So we were saying, well, like, where would that be? Like, where did that happen? And so now where we were seated, there was a wall behind us. And on the other side of that wall, it's the same restaurant we were in the morning at breakfast. The other side of that wall was the lounge area that I was kind of like focused on. I said, I feel like I'm being drawn over there by this energy. And he said the house would have been like, he said, I want to say like literally where you're kind of sitting now into the lounge area. That's what the original house was. I'm like, wow, this is really like what we felt. And so she would often sit in the window with a candle waiting for him, because she didn't always know if he would be coming back. You know, often she waited weeks for him to come back. And she would always sit in the candle, particularly in the window with the candle, particularly around twilight. So what had happened was some American soldiers had come through the town, and she was apparently that evening, she was wearing a long red coat. So the history too, I mean, the red coats were the British who were trying to they didn't want, the American soldiers kept trying to come over and kind of impose, they wanted to take the land, and they wanted to, kind of bring their own government forward, you know. Anyway, so that was a long time ago. We let bygones be bygones, right? So they had come over, and actually they had torched that town too at one point. They burned it down to the ground, and like just the stone parts of the structures were left. So they came in and they saw, I guess they just saw sort of like a silhouette and someone wearing a red coat. And they thought it was a British soldier. So they charged into the house, and apparently they chased her up the stairs. And they had the old weapons at the time where, you know, you had the buckshot and the bayonets, and they bayoneted her to death there, thinking that she was one of the British soldiers. So it was actually her that died, but it was weird because it was the sense of like waiting. So she was waiting for her husband, but she was the one that ended up getting killed. And I think her name was Molly. Was that right? I'm guessing. We ended up calling her Molly. I don't know if someone said that at some point. It was Molly. And so I had brought some tarot cards with me to do some like tarot readings for my friends. Like the first Friday night, we were doing like slumber party in one of our rooms. Our rooms were all beside each other. And I did some readings for each of them. So we brought the cards down that night in a little bag at dinner. And after dinner, everything was cleared. I asked them, I said, do you want to see if we can kind of try to connect with Molly and pull things out? It was a really fascinating reading. So one of the things that I've always been curious about are like entities, like spirits that don't move beyond, like into the light or kind of move forward. And myself, I've always kind of felt, well, you know, time is not like it is here in the 3D, in the spiritual realm. Like, so to me, sometimes I feel like you're picking up energies of the past, not necessarily a ghost that's here right now, but the past, present, and future can kind of all exist at the same time in the ethereal, because everything is eternal. But it kind of, after doing a reading, like specifically talking to someone who's passed, and I would say definitely stuck. She's stuck there. And I don't know so much about my theory anymore. I honestly think that there are some that have not moved into the light. And actually, even before I get into the reading that I did, even Bill, who was giving us the ghost story, he told us another story, because across from the Prince of Wales Hotel, there's a big park, and then there's a cemetery. I think it was that cemetery that it was talking about. Him and his sister, I think she was more sort of like a history buff in that area. And they were walking through the cemetery and going through some of the, just looking at the history and the dates and the names on some of the stones, a lot of them being soldiers, both American, I think, and British or early Canadian soldiers that were buried there. And him and his sister were quite a distance away from each other. And he said it was actually a very quiet day. It was in the summer, and it was years and years and years ago, perhaps even before it became more touristy. And it's not like a tourist trap in any way. Like in Niagara Falls, you would kind of say like a tourist trap where they have wax museums and gambling. Like, it's not that. This is like very historical and cultural. Not that either one is better than the other. They're both great, but it's a different kind of place. And he was walking along the tombstones, and all of a sudden he heard very clearly, but in like a whisper, "Get out." Just stopped. He said he stopped. And he thought, was that like the wind in the leaves? But he said the air was still. There was nothing. And then he hollered at his sister, and he said, "Did you say something?" And she said, "What? No." And like even talking to her, he realized like that's not what I heard. Like it sounded like it was like almost someone whispering in his ear. And he had walked a little bit past what he had heard, so he turned around and he started walking again. Get out. He heard it again. And he said that was it. He said, literally got out. And I think he talked to someone after that, and he said like back, someone else who was more of a history buff on the area was saying, like, you know, back at that time, there was a lot of brothers fighting one another, fathers and brothers fighting each other, uncles, and, you know, having different political views and what was going on there. So there's I don't remember if the guy he was talking to was both sort of a historical buff and also someone, you know, who followed and recorded some of these supernatural occurrences that would happen in the area. And he was saying like there's a lot of souls that are not at rest in that particular area. So it got me thinking about too, you know, often when people pass, when that's, even just before that happens, a lot of times if you've dealt with someone who's on the verge of passing, they'll start saying that they see, "Oh, I see my sister." And you're looking at her, your sister's been dead for 20 years. Your sister's not in the room, right? Like people that have passed start appearing to these people, and they often seem to be there to guide them into like to where they're supposed to go. So you kind of wonder if there's something about like so much family conflict that occurred there that some people have not had, or souls, people guide them out. So anyways, get back to like the tarot reading that I did that evening at the table. And so I used many different, I used the dog wisdom. I was looking for the emotions, which was interesting. So I opened up, I asked for Molly, and I said, "Are you open to speaking with us? How are you feeling about that?" And the card that came out was concentration. And so that's interesting. Almost like intuitively, it felt like she's almost like concentrating, like trying to, yes, how do I do this? What do I do? So I don't remember all the cards come out, but I remember the message. So basically, she was kind of confined to where she was. She was not able to move forward. And I couldn't come up with an answer, and she couldn't come up with an answer with that. It was like she was just waiting. But in the meantime, she was almost acting like, how do I describe it? Like a guardian angel. And it seemed like for younger people. I thought, so we were kind of trying to discuss that like amongst my group, like the younger people that she is serving as a guardian angel to. Like, I would almost classify literally as children. It came out as children. And it was like we were trying to determine, because the town had been burnt down at one point too. I think after Molly had been killed or murdered. And, you know, assuming there's probably a lot of children that died at different times in there as well. Like, and more like the traumatic deaths. Was she a guardian to some of these, like, were there children's spirits too that were around her? And just asking the questions, and it kind of seemed like it was. But what seemed to come out more strongly was like physical children. And it just seemed so weird at the time, because I was thinking to myself, like, I don't think I've seen a single kid. And I thought, no, I did. I've seen, like, out of all the people that we came through in like the 2 days sort of that we'd been there at that point, I think I remembered seeing maybe 2 or 3 kids. Like, it was a very low ratio, because it's a more of a kind of an adult place. There's wine tours, to that too. There's wine tours, there's history, it's a fine dining. So it just seemed odd. Like, I really couldn't connect it. I thought, like, why is she protecting children in the hotel? But then her message became more clear to me Sunday, the last day we were there, and we went for a high tea. There were so many kids at the high tea, dressed up fancy. The little girls were in these beautiful, like, fancy little dresses, coming in with their moms and grandmothers and aunts. And then even like some young boys coming in dressed up for this fancy tea service. And it's kind of fun, right? Like, you can pretend you're a king or queen or a lord or a lady that for maybe an hour or so. And I thought, my God, there are a lot of kids that actually do come through here at particular points in time. And that, I guess, maybe high tea is one of them. So it's kind of interesting, like, when you get a message and it seems incredibly clear, but it doesn't make sense because I'm not seeing anything to prove it. But then I did Sunday. There are a lot of little kids that come in here and they look really cute. And what was interesting was the message that I asked, well, who are you protecting these children from? And it was a man. It was the energy of a man that came out. So I guess just like the possibility of a young child, you know, something not going right in a bathroom or whatever. So she actually literally, Molly is there. Like, it's not exactly where she feels she's supposed to be. She knows that she's supposed to move on, but she's not capable of it for whatever reason. But what she's doing in the meantime is literally being a guardian angel to children that come into this hotel, was the message that I got through the reading. And it's funny because everything that was talked about, you know, odd things that have happened, nothing was malicious. Like, absolutely nothing was ever malicious. The spa lady did say that we know when our boss is coming because the ghost will change it from spa music to rock and roll. And then we know boss is coming in, and it never fails. Like, so it's almost like she warns that the boss is coming in, and she'll switch the station on the spa music. And others have seen like an image of a woman in the mirror. Things move, but nothing ever bad. Like, and I said I don't feel anything bad from her. I just feel like something bad happened. And so it was, yeah. And it was a really interesting message too, because they wanted me to ask Molly, my friends, how does she feel like communicating with us, like having sort of a channel to communicate? And the message was really interesting. The message was basically, here's a good way to kind of describe it. Imagine, if you will, you're looking at a photo album. You're looking at a photo album of past experiences, places, and people, and it's very nostalgic. And it produces a lot of emotion in you that is heavy and painful, but yet it's a part of who you are and you can't stop looking at it. That's how she conveyed, like, kind of communicating to us. So it kind of felt like, on some level, being aware that she's not in the 3D and she can't have those experiences, and being able to communicate with us kind of brought all those feelings back of being in the 3D and the nostalgia of that. And yet, so then we said, like, how do you feel about finishing this communication and closing it off? And it was Two of Pentacles, or the Two of Pentacles. She was, you know, like, it was the same thing, like feeling like I need to close this photo album because it's bringing up so many feelings and emotions. But at the same time, like, it's such a big part of who I was. It's in some way like it brings me hurtful pleasure to dip into it again. It was a fascinating reading. It really was quite fascinating. So there was that, and so our wine tour was funny. We took the wine trolley. So literally we arrived after each having 2 glasses of champagne in the limo. We arrived at the Prince of Wales Hotel. Just great people at the front desk. I mean, so many people are there. I wouldn't call them stuffy because everybody has their own stage in life. Call it a little stuffy, some of the other people that were checking in, but a lot of people were just pretty nice. So we came in, we're a little bit loud, six women, and literally our age range was, I believe, the youngest, which I think is my Pisces friend. Was she 43 or 42? Let's say 42, 43 to 59. And I'm kind of like in the middle, having turned 50. But, you know, we're like leaving our kids at home, many of them husbands and work and responsibilities, and we're having a good time. So we show up the hotel, and we were. And it was just great because the people that were checking us in, the gentleman, I wish I could remember his name. He was great. And he, you know, he was very professional. He was getting the job done to get us checked in. Let us know that one room was ready. We did arrive early. You usually can't check in until 3 p.m. We got there at 11:30. And because our wine tour started at 12:30. And so he let us go into one of the rooms that was ready to put all our bags and everything and kind of, you know, use the bathroom there. And he was saying, like, do you need a car, a valet, or to park the car? I said, no, we arrived in a limo. And he said, of course you did. It was just like, everything was just perfectly timed, and their personalities were great. So we went on the wine trolley tour. So I guess it stops at a couple of other historical hotels and picks people up. It was really small. Like, there was only, when we were the last stop, the 6 of us that got picked up. Oh, and there was another couple. They were quite stuffy. They were quite a stuffy couple. But when we got on the trolley, so the stuffy couple got on with us. But when we got on the trolley, there was 2 women in the back. They kind of looked like sisters, actually. It looked like in their 40s. And there was a couple, I guess like either husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, who looked like they were in their early to mid 30s. They were kind of quiet, you know, oh, hi, and whatnot. It was like when you enter the wine trolley, everyone's kind of reserved, and, well, we really weren't, but it was reserved and kind of, you know, maybe even shy. By the end of the wine tour, we're all best friends. We're singing in the trolley. It was funny. So my Gemini friend, she was on the back of the trolley, like driving back, and there's like a platform. There isn't a seat. It's a platform at the back window. It's almost like a wooden bus. Is how I would describe the trolley, with windows all over the place. They actually give you a little tour, historical tour of the town before you go out to there. We went to 3 different wineries, and she was on the back doing like poses. And Gary was the guy who was running the wine tour. He was hilarious. It was such a great time. So that's how we started. Literally got off the limo after 2 glasses of champagne, checked in, got on the wine trolley. We got, that was over. So that started at 12:30. I think we got back at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And then what the hell did we do for dinner that night? I don't even remember. Well, yeah, we did the wine trolley. What we did for dinner that night. Oh, we went to a restaurant. That's what we did. Went to another sit-down restaurant. I can't remember what it was called. So anyways, it was an absolutely great time. Oh my God, there was 2 funny things that happened. So before myself and my Pisces friend and my Leo friend, I'll call her, well, like the 3 of us, we live in the same neighborhood and our kids go to school together. My other 3 friends, I met them years ago through work and have stayed connected to them because they're just so great. So myself and the other, I'll call us the other 2 moms, we were doing our massages all kind of at the same time, except my Leo friend, hers was an hour after ours. So we went to the pool. We decided we're going to go for a swim. We brought our bathing suits. We were swimming in the pool. And my Pisces friend and I, we had to get out because we had to go down to the spa area. And so our Leo friend was going to stay there. And there was a guy who would come in. And he went into the hot tub, which is right attached to the pool. And I said to her, I said, are you going to be okay? And you're by yourself like this strange man. She's like, yeah. She's like 5'9" or something. She's like solid. She said, don't worry about me. Okay, so she went into the hot tub and she said hi to the guy. And actually, he seemed quite normal. So they were just going to hang out and talk. And as we were leaving, my Pisces friend said, do you want me to turn like the jets on the tub because it wasn't going? And he said, well, I was in here yesterday and there was an out of order sign, so I assumed it still wasn't working. And she said, well, do you want me to try? They both said sure. So what's really funny is the emergency stop button, it's a big red button, is right beside the timer. And she figured, oh, just turn it on. So she hit the button. The red lights started flashing. There was a high-pitched alarm. I thought she'd hit the fire alarm, to be honest. She was freaking out. She's like, oh my God. She couldn't get it to stop. And the guy jumped out of the pool and he was like, yeah, he pulled it out. He pulled it back out and it stopped. And she was like frazzled. She walked into her spa treatment like, oh my God, what can I do? It was actually really funny from our perspective anyways. And yeah, I guess, yeah, that's pretty much most of the funny stuff. There's just so many stories. You would get bored with it all. I just really wanted to like show you the singing bowl and just really like highly recommend going down there. It was a really great time. The people were so nice. And there was like literally not a thing that I would have changed about it except maybe staying a little bit longer. It was such a great reunion to come back home. And my son and my little dog Lily came home, and my son was super talkative. He tends to be kind of a quiet person. Like, it takes a while to pull things out of him. So it was just nice. I got him some candy apples from a specialty store, and he was eating one of those. And I got him a couple of shirts, and I got Lily the little pink raincoat, and I got her a little plushy toy. And so at first, she was really excited to see me. And then about half an hour after, she gave me a full-on cold shoulder. Lily gave me the cold shoulder. She wasn't coming to me. I needed to make the effort. And I did. I absolutely did. I had to hold her and kiss her and pat her and tell her how much I loved her and missed her. I just had to dote on her. And yeah, so she had no grudges this morning. She was just super excited to be home, and it was nice. So it was really nice. So that's my story. I just thought I would tell it to you. So, because I know someone said, like, where did you eat? So we literally ate the main place that we ate. We had breakfasts and dinner and high tea, all in the Prince of Wales Hotel. There was one restaurant, oh man, that we ate at Friday night. I can't. It was good. It was really, really good. But everything was great. I highly recommend it. So that's my stories. I'm going to leave it at that because I thought I'm just going to do one long video and tell everyone kind of how it went if you're curious, and then not do like short story here in Leo and another short story here or there. But who knows? Sometimes there's like little things that occur that end up being metaphors that will occur in reading. So that might happen, but there's the full story of everything. And so this bowl, right? Like, it's just so crazy. We started with it. I'll give you an exit with it, and here we go. Let's just do some of these. I'm going to stop it because it will resonate forever and ever. I'm going to just see what frequency it wants to pick. Rubbing it, it's kind of heavy. still going. I don't know if you can hear it. So yeah, it's nice to be back. I'm probably just gonna do Leo today. So if you're watching this at the same time that I published it on the same day and what's going on, I'll probably just do Leo. I'm just gonna ease into my work today. So yeah, I hope you all are keeping safe and happy out there. And until next time, everyone, be gentle with yourselves. Bye.